To the discussion in real analysis with Akhilesh Kumar. In this series, we are discussing on topics of the book Principles of Mathematical Analysis by Walter Rodin. The target of this video is to prove the uniqueness of derivative of a function of several variables. And now let us see that for this we will consider a function defined on an open subset of Euclidean space Rn to Euclidean space Rm. And in this we will have to say that if the function is differentiable at a point x in this domain, then the function will be the derivative of the function will be unique also. For this, let us recall the definition of differentiation of function f at a point x. In this, what we consider is f is said to be differentiable at point x, and the derivative of f at x is a linear transformation A, if and only if the limit of the norm of f applied to x plus h, where h is some step. So f applied to a neighboring point x plus h minus f at the original point x minus the linear transformation A applied to the step h, the norm of that divided by norm of the step h, that means the step length, should be equal to 0. So that is what the definition of a function of several variables to be differentiable at this point x, and the derivative of the function f at x to be this linear transformation A is 1. So what we have to show is that if f is differentiable at a point x in the domain, in that case this derivative f dash x should be unique, means it should be a unique linear transformation. So what we are going to do is we will assume that f dash x is equal to a linear transformation a1 and f dash x is equal to a linear transformation a2 also, and therefore we will have to prove that these two linear transformation a1 and a2 are equal. So then our theorem will be proved. So for proving that, what we will consider is, it's as a usual trick what we generally apply for proving the uniqueness in analysis, that we will consider the difference of these two as b. B will be a1 minus a2, and because a1 and a2 are linear transformations, so their difference will again be a linear transformation. And therefore now what our target is, when we are going to prove a1 is equal to a2, so in terms of b the target becomes that we will prove that b is equal to 0. 0 means 0 linear transformation, because we are going to compare the b as a linear transformation to another linear transformation which is part of LRN Rn. So means set of all linear transformations from Rn to Rn will be our set from which we are considering b and comparing with its 0 element. So we have to prove that b is equal to 0 as a linear transformation. So simply by recalling what is the zero linear transformation, the linear transformation which takes every vector to 0 of the codomain is zero linear transformation. So effectively, if we are able to prove b applied to any h is equal to 0, then b will be a zero linear transformation. For if we prove it for every h belonging to the domain Rn. So that is how actually the proof is going to be. So what we are going to consider is just norm of BH, where H is any vector in Rn. Before that, let us make the structure of norm BH in terms of what we already have. What we already have is norm this derivative of f at x is a1 and derivative of f at x is a2. So by the definition means let us apply this portion for a1 here in the definition. So what we get is limit h tending to 0, where h is a vector in Rn, then the norm of x plus h minus fx minus a1h upon norm h is 0. And similar way for the derivative at x equal to a2, the similar limit equal to 0 will be for here when we will have a2. So means same thing for a1 also and same thing for a2 also, both the limits should be 0 as per these two assumed conditions. So because for that what we will have, in that we will have norm of f of x plus h minus fx minus a1h, and in the other one all the same thing minus a2h. And now let us see how we can utilize what we have got in terms of these two and in terms of this limit. So what we have got is if we are considering b equal to a1 minus a2, therefore norm of bh will be what, where h is any domain element for the linear transformation b, that means h is any vector from Rn. Then what will be norm of bh? Simply let us apply the meaning of what is b. B is a1 minus a2, so it will be bh will be a1 minus a2 applied to h. And then simply applying the definition of a1 minus a2 as a function or a linear transformation, so what we have, it will become a1h minus a2h. And therefore what we will get is what we have already got in terms of derivative as a1 and in terms of derivative as a2. We need a structure like this, means norm of fx plus h minus fx minus a1h, and same thing minus a2h. See here, a1h and a2h already are with us. So what we need is we need to have fx plus h minus fx here also and here also. So for that, let us play the trick that we will subtract this bracket from here and add it also, so that the effect is nullified. And now what we will do is, because in this norm we have got this full bracket plus this full bracket. So what we will apply is the fourth axiom of norm is, which is similar to triangular inequality. So what we will apply is that full norm is of this, means this full plus this full, its norm is less than equal to norm of these individuals added up. So we have norm of this portion, that is this one. Simply a negative sign is adjusted because norm of this full, its negative sign if we take common, so it will be absolute value of minus 1 taken out, and absolute value of minus 1 will be 1. And same way plus norm of this full. So we have got this, which we can utilize as per the definition of of the derivative in terms of limit. So for this, what we need, we have got numerator in our result, and if we divide it by norm h and take the limit, that should be 0. So we have that. So we can divide it by norm h, divided by norm h. So what we will have to do is we will have to divide both sides by norm h. Now because when we are taking limit as h tends to 0, therefore h will be non-zero. We can consider it because h is tending to 0. It's we are assuming that it is not equal to 0, but it is coming nearer and nearer to 0, means 0 of Rn. So the norm of h will never be 0, and in fact therefore it will be positive. It's non-negative already, and if it is non-zero also, so norm of h is positive. So when we try to divide this inequality, both sides of this inequality, here also norm h we divide, and here also we divide by norm h. So this less than equal to sign will not change, it will remain same. So because it is, we are dividing by a strictly positive number, and therefore this inequality remains same, and therefore we can put the limit. So limit of that means norm bh upon norm h is less than equal to norm of this upon norm h plus norm of this upon norm h. And then when we take both the sides as h tends to 0, let us take the limit. Now you have to simply use the theorem, means the definition of this part tending to 0, because a1 is the derivative, and this part also tending to 0 when divided by norm h, as a2 is the derivative again. So this left hand side limit of when we divided by norm h, this will be 0, and therefore this also becomes less than equal to 0. Now when we have this norm bh upon norm h, it's a non-negative quantity also. So we have 0 less than equal to norm bh upon norm h, it is less than equal to this, and this bigger part is tending to 0, which is bigger, and left side also we have 0. So simply by applying sandwich theorem, you can prove it that this middle part, which is this limit, it is also 0. I will ask you to pause this video here and try to do this portion on a piece of paper for your practice also. I have made this brief here so that you yourself also practice this small part and make it easily to understand when you write yourself. So in this, what we get is this limit is 0 for any vector h which is non-zero. We are getting, so as h tends to 0, we will get this limit. As h tends to 0, we will get this 0. Now what we will do is, because we have to prove what? We have to prove norm this linear transformation B is 0 linear transformation. Effectively what we have to prove is B applied to any H is 0. 0 as vector 0 of Rm. It is 0 that. So for that what we will do is, we will consider arbitrary H belonging to Rn. We will consider h to be non-zero because we are going to divide by h also, and effectively even if h is 0, so b being linear transformation, bh will definitely be 0. So that's not a big issue. So let us h equal to 0 the case, let us keep it apart. Let us assume that h is non-zero. So in this, what we are going to do is, we will arbitrarily fix any h belonging to Rn, but it should be non-zero. In that case, what we have got for above is that for any h, if we get, so if we have h like this, then for th will also be some vector in Rn which is also non-zero. Now, see, this limit is that this portion tends to 0 as h tends to 0, h vector which comes from like anywhere, any like this any path it takes and comes to 0. So this vector h, it we are saying h tending to 0 in Rn. In Rn, when we say limit h tending to 0, it can come through any path, means like this and come like this and then this and then come to 0. It can follow any path. But in particular, what we are considering when we are putting, instead of any h, we are putting th, means scalar multiplication with h. So where t is simply a real number. Here we were considering h, where h is a vector in Rn, but instead of this, what we are considering th. So where h is what? H is also a vector in Rn, but t is a scalar. So in that case, if h is in Rn and t is in R, so th will be in Rn. So what we are actually assuming in this, when we are saying effectively, what we are getting from this is that limit t tending to 0 of this, means when t is a real number of this all is 0. From this we have got. How? Because this is a general one, that h tends to 0 through any path, but this portion says as t tends to 0, means then we are considering th. So what will be th? So if h is this and this is 0 vector, so any point on this line will be th. In fact, on the full line, infinite line, joining h and 0 will be having point as scalar multiples of h. So it will be th. So what th we are considering here as a red point, what I have made is when t is tending to 0. So what will happen as t tends to 0, means the distance is coming to 0. So with this h and with this as 0 of Rn, I have in particular made the case of R3 here. So with this h and with this 0, so th when t tends to 0 will be this red point from here to tending to 0. So that is how we have got not an arbitrary path in this as h tends to 0, but we have got that this limit is 0 in particular when h tends to 0 through the straight line joining h and the 0 vector. So that is in particular from this portion we have got this one. So it's a trick, but if we remember this diagram, we get it easily. And the logic behind also I am going to tell you so that you remember why we are using this. The logic is actually because B is a linear transformation, and when we apply this B to a scalar multiple of H, so it's like B applied to TH, where T is a scalar and H is a vector. In that case, this T can come out. That's the property of a linear transformation. That's the definition part of linear transformation. So with that, what will happen is t will come out. And now let us consider this portion, means left hand side, and utilize this property of linear transformation to analyze it further. And then you will understand that because of this b being linear transformation and therefore t getting out of this, why what help it gives us, and that will make you understand why we have taken, instead of simply bh, we have taken th, b applied to th. In my last video also I told that we write in general as bh. We will not put bracket here because we signify this as a linear transformation, and here we put f applied to h. F is a general function. B is also b is a linear transformation and hence function again, but still we omit the bracket here. But I have put a bracket here. The reason is I want to simply specify that B linear transformation apply to this full scalar multiplication. So TH, and then what we will learn is that T comes out. So that is what the purpose is, that I have specifically put bracket here. Now in this what happens, let us analyze the left hand side further, and later case we will use condition number 1 that this limit is 0. So let us simply concentrate on the left hand side. Limit as t tends to 0 of norm of the scalar multiplication upon the scalar multiplication th norm again. Now as I told that the b being linear transformation, t comes out, so that is what we are keeping. So simply this limit is kept apart left hand side, and simply we are dealing inside of the limit. So t comes out, so this becomes this one. And now what this is on numerator and on denominator both we have a scalar t, and this is a vector bh. It's a vector in what it will be a vector in Rm, and H will be a vector in Rn. So norms are the respective norms, means it's a norm of codomain space, and this is a norm of domain space. Now on both sides, because t is a scalar, so simply by the definition of a norm, the third property of the norm in the definition, what it says means we have to simply write it as norm t into norm of this, and norm t into norm of h. And in particular this t being linear, t being a real number, so norm t means absolute value of t. And because t is tending to 0, so in particular t is coming closer and closer to 0, but it is not 0 real number. So in that case this t is being non-zero real number, this t being again a non-zero real number, so we can cancel out these t, and therefore what we get is norm of bh upon norm of h. Now let us see, we have got this limit, means left hand side, this limit is left hand side, it is equal to 0. And what we have got on left right hand side here, this left hand side is nothing but its norm of bh upon norm of h. It is independent of t, no t is involved. Even if we are putting in this left hand side limit as t tends to 0, so this portion is effectively not having t. In fact, we should have left this limit. We should omit this here. So let us simply analyze this. This is equal to this part is equal to this part is equal to this part. So means this portion, even if we take t, because b being a linear transformation, this full of which we are taking the limit, it is independent of t. So it's like we are taking limit as t tends to 0 of a constant c. So what that will be limit? That limit will be c only, because it's constant with respect to t. So that is how what we get. We get that limit as t tends to 0 of c is equal to 0. So what is that? Means it's as t tends to 0 of nothing, means it's nothing influencing t. So it is a constant with respect to t. So what is this? This is full. So when we put this equal to 0, what we get is this is equal to 0. Means left hand side is equal to 0 in terms of limit, but this full limit is nothing but this one. So this is equal to 0 by condition number 1. So from 1 and 2 we have got this. What we have got, norm of bh divided by norm of h is 0 for any h non-zero vector in Rn. So we have got for every non-zero vector h in Rn, because h was arbitrarily fixed, we have got that when we do this it is equal to 0. Now because this is a non-zero vector and we are dividing by it, so if we multiply both sides by norm of h, so means in the denominator already norm h is there, if we multiply again by norm h, so this will remain as non bh only. So from, because h is non-zero, so what we get from this by multiplying by norm h, we'll get norm of bh is 0 for every h belonging to Rn if h is non-zero. So what we have got till now, we have got that norm of BH is 0 real number for every H like this. So when we get norm of anything equal to 0, it's a property of norm that norm of any vector is 0 if and only if that vector is 0. So effectively what we have got from this line, we have got that norm of BH equal to 0 for every H non-zero vector in Rn. Effectively means by applying that second property of norm, what we get, BH is 0 for every non-zero H in Rn. And for H equal to 0, what is the situation? For H equal to 0, BH is always 0. So what we have got, BH is 0 for every H belonging to Rn. So you should write this line. I have briefly written here. You should write it in your on a piece of paper and elaborate it for your understanding. So what you get is from this that B takes every H to 0. So what is that meaning? That meaning is B is a zero linear transformation. And effectively that is what we wanted. What we wanted that for proving a1 which is derivative of f at x and a2 which is also a derivative of f at x, if for these to be equal we took difference of a1 and a2 as b, and therefore what we wanted to prove, we wanted to prove b to be equal to 0, and we have got that b is a 0 as a linear transformation. So that effectively proves that therefore a1 and a2 are equal linear transformations, and effectively that means that the derivative of f at any at this x is unique. So that's up to this theorem. Let us That's the end of this video. God bless you.